to 13. Our very own MJ Acosta caught up with the newest Niner receiver, Emmanuel Sanders, after his win with the team and his first touchdown as a Niner.
Emmanuel, to get this offense started right in the first drive, scoring your first touchdown as a 49er, just take me through that moment in the end zone.
Yeah, it was awesome. I ran a stick route. I guess the guy tipped it, but the ball just fell straight into my hands. And after I caught it, I was like, oh, this is what it is. Like, opening drive, first touchdown, new team. And I tell you what, man, I'm so blessed, man. And, I can't thank God enough to put me in this position. I'm so happy, extremely humble.
I never give the best speeches, all right, but guys, I'm so proud of you guys, all right? Guys, that was as good of a game as I've been part of. We did it against a very good team. All right, felt you guys all week, how locked in we were. All right, offense, defense, special teams. Guys, most points since 1993. All right, they've had a lot of good teams around here, man. And we scored a lot of points because all three phases did it, man. Hell of a job across the board.
Enjoyed it for a day, but elite teams turn around and we get ready to do it again. So enjoy this short journey, but we got a short week. Let's go do it again. Niners on 3, 1, 2, 3, 9.
Sherm was hype. Emmanuel Sanders ran out the field saying, I'm 1-0, we're 7-0. Both sides of the ball showed up. A 50-burger over at the Panthers at home. Power ranking the NFC, power ranking the NFL will be really, really tough this week because it's hard to put them above the Saints, even though this was a quality win, guys. Did they prove they're the best team in the NFC?
They could have proved that they're the best team in the NFL. I'm done waiting on the Niners to fall apart. Okay. I'm done waiting on this defense to get exposed. Okay. I'm done waiting on this offense to go out there and stub their toe and sputter for 4 quarters. I'm going to make a vow right now, like I do every few weeks, to not bet against the Niners. They show me that they have everything in all phases. They have a quarterback, wide receivers. The running game is incredible, and defensively, they beat people up. Like old school, bruised up after the game, beat people up. And with Kyle Shanahan calling plays, they can heat up at any time. So I guess they are like the San Francisco Treat because they can heat up in a minute.
I don't know. Okay.
Yeah, come on. I'm just saying, man.
They have the Packers
on the trolley, you're going up the hill.
Packers in Week 12, Saints Week 14.
Yeah, and those are both big matchups. And, look, the Saints are really good. The Packers are really good. The Vikings just looked great again. And yet there's only one undefeated team in the conference. Yep. And yet there's only one team that has that juice. A couple years ago, the Falcons got on this board, and it was like Dan Quinn just had those guys. Last year, McVay, they got going, and it's like they had those guys. I feel that vibe from the 49ers right now. And it's, the Niners teams that were great with Harbaugh, it ended so ugly. Harbaugh and Trent Baalke, and it was just, the owner, Jed York, was being dragged through the mud. This team, it seems like Kyle Shanahan's best friend might be John Lynch, whose best friend might be Jed York, whose best friend might be Jimmy Garoppolo. Throw in Richard Sherman, throw in Emmanuel Sanders, the new guy, and all those young defensive players. Robert Saleh, there's a happiness, there's a juice, and there's an energy. And I think Kittle's emotion out there, sums it all up. I feel like there's a real juice to this team, and they don't care if we buy in or not. They don't.
That's it.
And that's what's been working. And yes, they play the Saints coming up.
And they've got Juszczyk coming back, hopefully. Trent Taylor's coming back.
Hopefully Staley comes back.
There was that was a clinic in the running game yesterday, and they were without the linchpin of the running game, which is Juszczyk. It wasn't even out there. But I've fallen into this role today. Statler and Waldorf are those old grumpy guys up in the balcony and the Muppets. I'm the naysayer today. When you ask, are they the best team in the NFC, I'm not going to say no. I'm going to say not yet.
Okay.
And there's something that I always call the 3rd and 12 factor. There's always going to be a huge 3rd and 12 in your season where you can't run the ball. It's just going to be your quarterback's going to have to drop back and move the chains. Does Jimmy Garoppolo have the 3rd and 12 factor? Now, he hasn't really had to have it because the defense is great and the running game's great. Jimmy Garoppolo's best moment of the season was a clutch throw to beat the Mason Rudolph Steelers at home. There's big moments coming for Garoppolo. I know they can run. I know they can play D. Do they have the 3rd and 12 factor? I know Drew Brees does.
Don't you trust Kyle Shanahan, though, to draw that play up more than anyone else in the league?
They can't throw it, though, can he? They can't throw it.
Yeah.
It's just Jimmy hasn't been there, and that's not his fault. It's fine. It's not his fault at all. Drew Brees has been there. We've seen some dogs in the NFC. Aaron Rodgers has been there.
You said the same thing in Madden. This is how you talk in Madden about the players.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, we're doing the Madden thing, and you guys are all great, and I'm Simon Cowell saying no for Hollywood. It's incredible.
And now this, of course, kind of mucks up the quarterback situation with the Panthers. Kyle Allen was on fire. He could not lose until yesterday. Ian Rappaport joining us right now, our NFL Network insider. What's going on? Is there a timetable for Panthers quarterback Cam Newton's return, and what does it mean? What does it mean going forward?
Well, this is a question we've really been asking for the last several weeks, except every time we've asked, the response has been, it doesn't matter because Kyle Allen has been basically flawless and he's been winning. Well, obviously now the Carolina Panthers in a different situation, obviously the most sort of troubling or disappointing start for Kyle Allen. No reason to panic, but obviously this was very different from what it has been, and now we start to figure out, is Cam Newton going to make his way back to the practice field? I talked to a couple of sources yesterday. Nobody would say this is definitely in the week. They say, here's what's going to happen. He's going to get in Monday. They're going to test his foot. They're going to see if he's ready to go. If he is ready to go, then Cam Newton will begin practicing. If he's not, it'll be another week. Either way, just because he's on the practice field, Kay, doesn't mean that Cam Newton is getting ready to take starts in games. It's likely to be Kyle Allen again this week for the Carolina Panthers just because Newton isn't quite ready. And potentially after that, they may have a decision, but the decision it's not quite time for a decision yet. I'll say that.
It's not quite time. We'll be keeping our eyes on that. It is time to see some trades go down, of course. The trade deadline, October 29th. That's tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern. We'll get an update on you about who might go where, and also an update on J.J. Watt suffering an injury, leaving the field yesterday. Thank you so much, Ian. We'll talk to you in a bit. And more Good Morning Football, of course, on the way. And highlights for you with the Rams. They were across the pond. You might have missed it. It was a night game during the day. But did they claw their way back into the NFC West race? Is this a playoff team?
NFC West is good.
Can they keep pace?
We just said that the Niners are the greatest wide receiver in the NFL. Michael Thomas, 31-9. Cardinals hung around, then Peter's right. The strange 4th and 1 up the middle of the game was over. But guys, Drew Brees came back like it was nothing, 373-3. Let's hear from number 9 on his return.
Another thought would be, hey, why don't you just wait until after the bye week? You know, everything seems to be going well, right? You know, and so why take the chance? Man, I'm a football player, you know, and I, like I said, just that gratitude that kind of came over me right before this game is just that I'm blessed to play this game, and I love this game, and I love my teammates.
I'm convinced that him missing these 5 games was the best thing that could happen for this team. 373 yards. He hasn't done that since week 3 of last year. Last year, the only critique you could have about Drew Brees is that down the stretch, he had a little bit of what looked like potentially some arm fatigue. I personally didn't subscribe to that. Maybe he struggled towards the end of the year. The way that he looked off the bench with a wrap still on his thumb, putting up those numbers, leading his team to this win, I think it's awesome.
Yeah, last week I said it was a blessing in disguise for the simple fact that he could sit on the sideline, rest his legs up, rest his shoulder up, rest that thumb up, and then...
And Peyton was like, oh, okay, like I can't... Now looking at the alternative thing. Say Teddy started yesterday, right? Say Teddy started yesterday, they win 27-0, you're going into the bye week. Now we're dealing with Brees or Teddy, Brees or Teddy. What are we going to do? Oh, how can you take out Teddy? He won his 6th straight. No conversation. Drew Brees is our quarterback. I almost think it was a master play by the Saints. Throw out Drew Brees. Let him show the fans, oh, wait, I'm still Drew Brees. That's not a storyline. Teddy, thank you. You're there on the bench if we need you. Drew Brees, take us to the Super Bowl and go win another one. Like, that's what they did, and they just silenced the narrative.
Coach Brees said, I'm in.
Coach Brees said on Monday, and I think Sean Payton respects Brees enough. It was like, yeah, I know, you're Drew Brees. Like, you're in. If you want to be in, you're in.
He is in. And, like, I don't do the power rankings on the show. Dan Han's a stud, and Peter's fight my 5. I think this is the best team in the NFL. I really do, because I can't find a flaw. Like, the Niners have that. They haven't been there before, all right? The Patriots, they're putting it together on the fly offensively. I just don't see anything with the Saints. They already dealt with the big injury. The defense is incredible. Even off the field, like the home field advantage and the been there factor, and if they just have it all going on, can you look at this team and find anything about, yeah, but they don't really have the... I think it's like a perfect team.
2 big injuries. I mean, Kamara, we didn't even talk about it.
You're right. Kamara's out. Jared Cook was out. Brees is out, and they're just flawless. I think they're the best team in the NFL right now. As much as I love what the Niners did yesterday, it's just all Saints for me. I love
Sean Payton deserves so much credit for
they got it all.
They didn't weather the storm without Drew Brees. They thrived in it.
They were awesome.
Yeah. They were Lieutenant Dan. You call this a storm?
They might not be done. Tuesday's a trade deadline. The Saints are one of those teams that are always looking to add assets.
Let's go! Let's go! Let's go! go.
They're always listening, I'll tell you that.
They're always watching that.
Candle
show.
wax,
Look at that. Will Selva's out in the newsroom in Culver City this morning with all of our headlines. 24 hours until the trade deadline. 24 hours.
Absolutely.
4 p.m.
And we are going to be documenting every bit of it. Good morning to you, Kate. Good morning, fellas. Well, after Sunday's loss to the Seahawks, the Falcons are now 1-7. Now, here's a sobering stat that really just reinforces what most Atlanta fans already knew. No team has made the playoffs following a 1-7 start in NFL